Okay, so now we're going to move on to the MATLAB, and this is the most important part of your data analysis. And so if you have the MATLAB app downloaded, you just open that up. I'll just wait until it opens. Okay, so now we have the MATLAB open. I'm just gonna make sure that sometimes it's acts a little weird. It's non-existent in. Okay, yeah, that is not a problem for now. And so what you want to do is you want to make sure that all your documents are added to path, or else it's going to give you this warning. And so the person that we're analyzing today for the training is this participant Janelle. And so what you want to do is you want to right click on that folder, and then you want to say add to path, and then click selected folders and subfolders, and that's when you'll be able to see the text files that we have downloaded. If you were to do the other one, you can see it, but it is grayed out and you will not be able to click it out. Okay, then the next thing you want to do is go to your apps. So hopefully you have by this time have the Phenometer PT app downloaded on your laptop. If not, ask Dr. Vela to give you access to that, and once you download it, it installs automatically as an app into MATLAB. But once you have that downloaded, all you have to do is just click it, and this is the app that Jefferson created for us to be able to analyze our data. Okay, now this app is open, and then I just like to do that. And so what you want to do is select the Phenometer file in text file, and you want to also have your BSA handy. So this is where the BSA also matters. I'm just going to quickly double check what the BSA is here. It's 1.67. And so we would go select the file, go to that folder. Again, we've added the folder open here. And then I did the A before recording this tutorial, but we also did the B. So we'll do both and see how it looks like. So starting with A, we just double click that. It brings us back to this one. If there's any problem with the way your file is named, if there's any problem with that start, standing, ending, end comment keys that you have in LabChat, it's not going to let you open it. It's going to give you a bunch of warnings and giving you a bunch of code. So if you ever get like warnings, or if you ever get like error codes, make sure that the way your file is named is correct, and you want to make sure that your comment keys, so if you go to the lab chat, is all start, standing, and end. Like start, standing, and end. If it is starting, standing, and ending, it's not gonna work. Okay. So it didn't give us any warning, which is good. So we go back to this app, and then we want to put in the BSA. So you make sure it's 1.67, and once you click run, you want to make sure that it changes the participant's name. So you can see Janelle 08 PTA trial 1. So that's why we always need to follow this example of naming. Okay. So this looks good. So this is why we have the continuous bit-to-bit measurements. It gives us like a trace of how the response happened during the test. And so this is for your systolic blood pressure. This is your diastolic blood pressure. This is your mean arterial pressure. This is your heart rate response. And this is your cardiac output response. And what we want to do is sometimes we have a lot of noise even after removing the calibration noise, and these apps help us to filter it before we save it. So what you want to do is come back to your systolic blood pressure. I like to do something, I just like to play with the numbers, but I like to do something that still shows us what the drop is without removing it. And for this one, it looks like somewhere like 10 would be the window size, because I still want to see this drop. If I put it somewhere like this, and this blue line, which is the original line, is there, it filters it out and we get a cut in our data. We don't want that. So I just put it somewhere that the blue line isn't too much. Jefferson said somewhere in the middle is always great, but you can always just play around with the number. We obviously don't want this because this is going to clean off all our data and we don't want that. So maybe put in somewhere set 40 is good for today. So save, and you want to make sure you also save your window size, because when you do, it shows up on this workspace that you have a window size saved. If you don't have the window size saved, it would not move on to the next phase. So right now we have it as 39. We'll go back to that, and then you want to do that for everything. Again, the instructions are on the side here. You want to choose the best window size for each variable, and you want to click the save window size button, and you have to repeat it for every variable. Okay, so the diastolic blood pressure, I'll just keep it at 39. Mean arterial pressure, also want to keep it there. Heart rate, there's a lot of noise here, so we can maybe play around, see it's good, as long as it's not affecting this transition point. So I guess maybe 39 also would be good. And then cardiac output, there's a lot of noise there. Yeah, that's good. And then the next thing you want to do, you want to go to the next tab, filtering and saving, like so, and you want to filter the data. And then you just wait a bit until it comes up. And so it comes up like this. And so you can see the trace of the data when the participant was sitting. This is how their systolic blood pressure looked like. When they stood up, that there was a drop. The amplitude of the drop will be shown in your Excel file in a little bit. And then you can see how they recovered and so forth and so on. You can see that for the diastolic, the mean arterial pressure, heart rate increases to compensate for that drop. Cardiac output also increased and then dropped. CPER decreased and then increased. Stroke volume. So you can just check everything. I'm not actually looking at the DPCIOP, double P, PP values, variables, but I just like to look at how they respond. And then you want to save all in Excel. And so if we go to that person's file, so if I minimize this and I go to that person's file, second, so you can see that it's brought it up here. So if we open that Excel file, you can see the numbers. So baseline 117.75. When they stood up, had a drop to 90.56, and the amplitude of drop was 26 millimeters mercury for systolic and 19 for diastolic, and so forth. And you can see the heart rate increase, and you can see stroke volume, DPCI, and so forth. And now we will repeat that for the transition B. So we have to open that app again, select your file, go to that person, select the B one, make sure it doesn't give you any warning. Make sure the BSC is still going to be the same, and then run, and then make sure that the protocol changes to B right here. And then systolic blood pressure, we can see the response also drops. We can just save this, keep the same window size. Save. Sorry. MAP, save. Heart rate. Oh yeah, so this is towards the end. That's fine. Save. And cardiac output. So I don't want any loss in the transition part. I'm trying to get rid of this blue one. Or we can, yeah, okay. Yes. Okay. Maybe I just keep that 0. If I go to filtering and saving, it's not gonna work. See that? Okay, so we have to go and make sure that this cannot be at 0. So we have to keep it a little 4. Okay, we'll go with that. And filter the data. Let's go back to systolic blood pressure. So it looks something like that. Diastolic looks something like that. Mean arterial, heart rate, cardiac output. So cardiac output actually, I don't want it to cut off that data though. So we just have to play around here. Let's just keep it somewhere in the middle. Okay, cardiac output, okay, and CPER. Okay. Again, I don't look at the last 3 because I don't use that, but and then save all in Excel. And now we can go back to, so we can go back to the file, and then you can see that during this, the B one, it classified them as having initial orthostatic hypotension. Some people get classified, most files, all files will get classified as how they are. So you can see that because they have a drop of more than 40 millimeters mercury in systolic blood pressure, that would classify them as having initial orthostatic hypotension. For some people, they don't show any of this, so it keeps the document in the same file. For example, if we go to, let's say, this participant, I have already analyzed their data, but you can see that it only has one file for them, and it has parameters PTA and parameters PTB in the same file, and that's because they both are, during those 2 transitions, they had the same response. Compared to the other person that we just did, who in PTA had like this response, which doesn't classify as having orthostatic hypotension, but when you looked at their B, parameters B, you can see that they have a much lower drop or higher drop in blood pressure compared to when they did the protocol A. So it will give you 2 Excel files. That's fine because you have to still move this onto like the template that you use for your statistics. So this is just the raw data, and if you look at your data, it gives you every single number from the data pad that we add, gives you all that number into this Excel file if you ever need it, and it gives you the normalized data also. For that participant who had the same response, you can see that it gives you for the A, and then for the B, it's on the other side. And you will know because of the time, because they're laying for 10 minutes for the laying position and laying for 5 minutes, so 300 seconds for the standing position, which means we could even take out this one, but that's okay. You can just leave it. Okay, so that's how that works. So I hope this helps in understanding how to analyze and use the macro from the lab chat, the settings, making sure that your settings are changed to arterial pressure, make sure that your cardiac output looks good, physiologically speaking, making sure that your data pad, you change the selection, again, making sure that this time before you run your macro is in minutes and seconds, else that's gonna, make the data pad all wonky. And yeah, before I used to sometimes the MATLAB would not let you keep this as I corrected, and so sometimes you might have to take it out. That's another way to, if you ever have a problem and you need to troubleshoot, you could also have this, which is why I didn't close down this file, because then that means we'll have to repeat the entire thing again. I didn't close out the file when we went into MATLAB, but sometimes it lets you just keep the HC as part of the column name. The reason why I kept it to 2 decimal point, I'll show you, is because of something like this. So if we open the text file, you can see it's much cleaner. I don't have an example of an older one where there was no numbers, like there was no limit to the number of decimal places that it has, and it just looked a little janky. I don't know if this doesn't have this. But yeah, you just want to make sure that you follow the steps, and I hope it makes things easier in terms of um, analyzing and running a macro and putting it into MATLAB. Okay, bye.